Service how to do sentiment analysis for Bitcoin within Twitter X platform using the cloud services. Mainly, we have Azure and AWS. So in Azure, the service called Language Services, and in AWS called Comprehend. So what we're going to do? Yeah, generally in Twitter, wherever you have trending topic hashtag, so with Bitcoin, you can see the pricing like a sentiment about it. If it's people like enthusiastic about it or like negative comment about it. So let's test the code. Okay, let's test the Azure site first. So I want to test it first. Then I'll show you. So after it's run, you will get this link. You have to authorize it from Twitter. So I'm copy this link. Copying the link here. So authorize this one. Copy the you will given a pin. So you will paste the pin here, and it will update this folder. So it will fetch the tweet, and will then send an sentiment all the tweet like per patch, 10 patches, because in Azure, you have to it will handle the service. So as you can see, let's see the result here is right now it's mainly 33%. It's still positive. So the result is positive. The other one is neutral right now. So what is happening? So let's go back to the code. So yeah, this is a script for Azure. How we can do it for Azure? We need this information. How we need it? So you will have to create the resources in Azure. So in Azure, if you go back to Azure services, so here's the Azure service in the list. Search Azure AI services. In the filter here, you search the Azure language services. So you create one. So let's move this here. And you will have if you have a resource group, you create it. If you don't, create it right away. So the instance over here, the name should be like a specific Bitcoin tweets 1 2 3. The pricing, so I already used the free tier, it's called S0, as you can see here. And then the second one you have it will be payment, so you can see the pricing over here. So what's also need bit of information, if you do in your on your testing, you have testing like it will be for our network, but for this production you have to select like it should be like within your network. So after you create the service, let's go back here. It will select. You go back like it will look like this. So here, as you can see here, this more information. You can this because the language have more many features. So one of the feature you can try it here over here in Azure Studio, Language Studio. So they have already like many feature for like extracting information, classification, also summarization. So you can test it or try it out over here. So you can see all this graph. You run it. You can see this is a JSON, and it will also given how you can test do it via code. So I already select the example from here, and I develop my script or like a Python from it, from the analysis, my sentiment analysis script from here. So this is Azure part. So what I did from Azure, I click many keys and able to get the key information and the endpoint information, where we will update it. Yes, so let's continue from here. Where is this information? You already get it from your environment. Don't share also this link because it will be exposed. It's all network, so you will be charged for the request as well. Um, Let me show you the code side, the code part. In the code, I divided into two parts. The first part about the Twitter from Twitter like APIs, so you will able to get the consumer key and secret key from the Azure. So from Azure developer page, you will able to get the link. So if you go over here, so I already mentioned it, you will able to get you choose a project, and then you choose the key, and then you can regenerate the key and token. Choose regenerate and copy it again. So you need the consumer key and the consumer secret key. Here's the way you get the information, and here's how to interact with your Twitter API. So what's the information we need? We need to first to authenticate. We need the token. After we get the token, we will get the pin code. So we will authorize. After we authorize, we able to run the fetch tweet and we save it to this JSON file. So I already run this one. So you can see here all this related to Bitcoin. So I mentioned this. This is related to only Bitcoin. So the word we had is Bitcoin only. So Bitcoin or PCR. So right now it's limited. It's only for testing. Let's go to the Azure part two, perform the sentiment analysis. So this is AWS. Let's go to here. No, this one, Azure. So the first part is same for Azure and AWS, but the second part is different. This is how you interact with Azure. So you need the key and the endpoint, and then you will just able to run the function from Azure, where you will able to give it the parameter for endpoint and information, and where you get information if it's a negative, neutral, or positive. So the batch size is important. It's 10. So the free tier have only 10. So it will able to run send batches of 10 text, where you're able to combine it, where you're able to do the sentiment analysis, and then it unify information about it. So this is the total, and the total sentiment analysis for this is this information he had. So let's go back here. So in AWS is the service called Comprehend, which is by itself is text natural language processing, text analytic. In Azure, you can see this like inside it like different. Like, this is why it's called language service, but here it's specific. It's Java, and as you can see over here, you don't need to create any services. It's already you just need to have the IMI user. It's able to have access, able to create resource like administrate to these resources in AWS, the Comprehend services. So this is example where you can see if you go back over here, you can see you can use this case like voice, customer analytic, semantic search, knowledge information. Over here, when you test it with AWS, like see here's information about this is a text, and what's the sentiment about the text. The result is this one: confidence, neutral, or positive or negative. So let's go back. What is required for AWS? So you don't need to create any resources. You just have the user configured. So if you have the user configured, you will get the so after you enter the information about the key information and the resource, then it will immediately able. Yeah. So as I was saying, after you finish the information, you can run the code. So here's the access key for the MI user, which have resource access to Azure API. Amazon also have their own documentation about this. How do you create this stuff? So you can see, you can read over here how to use their API. So from there also AWS, this is from the documentation. And also if you can follow up, you will able to see all the details you need for like same information function icon in the code in AWS code. So here the comparison. Let's go to comparison. You can see here in Azure, I'm able to send batches of 10. In AWS, it's more, it's 25. It's also the information here. Azure doesn't have mixed. Here is mixed. The free tier also 5,000 in Azure. It's more in AWS. It's 15,000. The free tier also in Azure, because in Azure it give you given for the first month you will given like $200, but in AWS you will get the free tier for 1 year. So the free tier is just for this one. So you will have more time to test. Support also in Azure, but in Azure the language support is more. So the also Sentinel it will detect all information about summarization feature. This is more in Azure. AWS is less. So where if you want to choose Azure, you want to do like as you can see here, you're already using Azure ecosystem and you have strict compliance. So in AWS you have more like a more higher batch size and also like a bit more comfortable in pricing model. Also in integration within also AWS ecosystem. That's it. Thank you. If you have any comment, update, or I want to do more like I want to expand this script, so I will update it on the GitHub. Thank you.